Today marks the 70th anniversary of the Essex Floods. 307 people sadly died as a result of tidal flooding on the 31st and 1st of February 1953, including 40 plus people in Jaywick Sands and Harwich. Our community stood together and supported each other that sad day. That tragic event has changed and shaped the way Tendring is today. But it is important we remember all those that died and were affected by the events of that night.
During the night of January 31st, many of the lower-lying districts of eastern England were overwhelmed by a devastating flood. A strong northwesterly gale had been blowing for some days, creating a tidal surge which swept down the coast to increase an already high spring tide.
I would say early hours of the 31st of January, but by the man of the house, Mr. Leggett, knocking on the bedroom door and telling us, get up, the water's coming in. Immediately you don't know quite what to do, but get up and put on a dressing, didn't have dressing gowns, the coat over the top of your nightwear, put a pair of shoes on, grabbed the baby, thought we were going to go downstairs, put the baby in the pram, walk out of the door, walk up the road. Unfortunately that wasn't so. My husband went down the stairs first of all to get the pram ready. He was halfway down the stairs when the surge came. He saw the pram tip over and he was up to his knees in seconds halfway up the stairs.
Night, I wasn't going to the dance. In the end I did, but I'm pretty hairy going over the bridge. I was going to the Alex dancing. But then at midnight, we didn't know anything what was happening, but at midnight I came outside and Johnny Cunn, the local taxi driver, was there. He said, Betty, Barside is flooded. And so we went there and the police said, look, I want you to go into all the way along here. That we went and woke up everybody there. But that was at about 1 o'clock, I think. Then this other wave came, and that was when the houses next door to the police station and the basement of the police station all got flooded.
I thought no more about it, to be quite honest. I was tired and we just went back to sleep. It wasn't until the early hours when my dad woke us up and he said, "It's all everywhere, there's water everywhere. So he said, well, pop down and see, because we were in the second and third floor of this, there was Nichols Flats. He said to me and my brother, nip down and just make sure they're all right. Well, we got to the bottom of the stairs, but from the stairs we were up to our knees in the water. We managed to get round to them and they opened their window. You're all right? Dad sent us down. He said, yeah, we're okay, but he said, I said, you're fine? He went, yeah. He said, we actually put chairs on the tabletop and we were sitting on the chairs on the table. And he said afterwards, he said that he was prepared to try and break through with the ceiling into our flat or house if he could, if the water got any higher. It was devastation everywhere. It was because of the way Barside was situated, it was below sea level. And the sea actually breached the wall. It was only like a mud wall that surrounded it. But I remember Mr. Holbrook, he had pigs and chickens and everything. There was allotments at the bottom. And unfortunately, they were floating around the town for a long while, chickens drowned, and everything. So it was not nice at all, But it's one of them situations that you have to overcome as best you could.
Daybreak, police, fire brigade and civil defence workers were fully mobilised. Boats were obtained from every possible source and used to rescue those who were trapped in their houses.
got on my bike and then afterwards and cycled down to St Joseph Beach, where, to my amazement, the tide had come right the way up to Wise Hall Farm, and I could see to the east it had come up to Cockett Farm as well. So it meant the tide had come about a mile inshore at that time. Having stood around for a bit and asked what was going on, I was told a small rowing boat with 4 of the residents had gone out to see if they could catch or find any people that were still alive. And at that time, there were only 2 people living down at St Joseph Beach. It was the local nature man, Reg Arthur, and his mother. And they were living at a little bungalow in Seaview Road. You think about it, how quickly it came on. They managed to get the kitchen table out, and they stood on this kitchen table while Reg knocked a hole in the plasterboard ceiling and managed to get his mother and himself and the cat and 2 chickens onto the rafters inside the roof space. The tide came right up to them, so it would have been about 9 foot high at that time into the bungalow.
During the night, of course, there was all sorts of things going on. There was boats rolling up and down the road, and police calling out to make sure everybody was all right. And one of the funny things I can recall is the fact that they said, please switch your electricity off at the meters. And in those days, electricity meters were downstairs. How expected anybody to get downstairs? Anyway, when daylight started to creep in, you could sort of see a bit more. You could see where people had banged holes through the roofs to get out if they thought they'd got to get onto the roof. And also outside ours, a bit further down, was the fire engine, which had come down to help at the pumping station, which of course had been abandoned. Well, all you could see through the water was the top of the fire engine. Where the fireman went, I have no idea. And a gentleman, he was a gentleman from Parkston, volunteering, of course, to help. And he took myself, my husband and the baby out of the house, which we had to do through the front bedroom window because the water was still that high. From there we went up to what was the drill hall, which is now the Park Pavilion, and there was WVS and Salvation Army and various other community people there to help to serve hot drinks and seating and get us warm, see what was going to happen. But, you know, it's just community spirit, I suppose, really got people through.
I can remember also in the next morning, I saw lots of the boats from Ganges. The boys came over to row everybody out because they managed to get most of the houses over there were semi-basement. But they managed to get to the next floor, which there was still water, about a foot deep in some of them. And the Ganges boys took them and rowed them, and I can't remember where they rowed them to, but they rowed them to somewhere, safety, because I wasn't there. But I think some of them, there was caravans all put on Harwich Green and the transit camp, and lots of friends, lots of people took them in who were friends in Dovercourt and weren't flooded. Bathside, Bathside was a very close family, what would I say? When they were all very close families, and all respected their houses, and they all were superb cooks. You could always smell their cooking. That was a community which you don't get very often. That nobody ever went hungry when we were on 8p worth of meat and 2p worth of corned beef a week. I said nobody ever went hungry in that time because they'd all help each other and us help.
But all your neighbours always rallied round, and when you got in upset, you're okay for this, you're okay for that. I would like to think that the same thing applies nowadays. If we met something like that people would rally around. I know there are lots of people in the town now that do that, but it's something that I think that Harwich can be proud of. But certainly during floods, when everybody came together then, look, I've got spare veg, you can have that, I've got a spare loaf, you can have that. It was really, really good the town came together.